Hello and welcome to Hello Hangs. My name is Jeff Berman. I'm from HelloooTV. Tonight, I am going to be interviewing and getting to know Jonathan Wyndham, who will be performing on HelloooTV with his awesome band tomorrow night. But tonight is the interview segment. Before we get started, I'm going to send a special thank you to our sponsors. First and foremost, we have NooWave Co. This is a brand new company that is creating a Flow-State-Coffee. What is Flow-State-Coffee? I'll tell you. It's blended coffee with raw cacao and L-theanine, which is an amino acid that naturally brings your stress level down, calms you down. So you get a reduced stress, plus you get the energy and the increased boost in mood and creativity from coffee without the shakes and the negative side effects. If you're like me and you love coffee, but you don't want the negative side effects, you want Flow-State-Coffee from NooWave.co. You can go to NooWave.co/hello with 3 O's and get 10% off your order. Again, NooWave, NooWave.co/HELLOOO for 10% off your order. Also, AEH Accounting. If you're a small business person, if you're an entrepreneur and you need bookkeeping help, go to aehaccounting.com. They can help you. Last but not least, the great folks at Audio-Technica. Now, they're all over the world, but since HelloooTV has been in inception, even before we were fully functioning and we were just an idea, the good folks at the USA Audio-Technica branch have had our backs. So thank you, Audio-Technica. Thank you, Audio-Technica. Thank you, Audio-Technica. Now, without much further ado, let's get Jonathan Wyndham in here and ask him some questions. What do you say? Yeesh? Yeesh. Jonathan, are you there?
What's up, dude?
Hey, man, how are you?
Good. Just linking this puppy to my Facebook.
Oh, link this shit.
Done.
Link it like it's Zelda, right?
Or a park. Oh, Link and Zelda. That was
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
I went straight Linkin Park.
You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with Chester or Link.
I kind of went Matthew McConaughey with Lincoln Lawyer, and then I went to Lincoln Logs, and then Lincoln the President. So my bad to the history professors.
No, that's all right. I went to Lincoln Cars in my mind. That was the joke I was going to make, but I didn't know how to go with that, so I just. In other news, I'm fired. Here we are. How are you? Where are you right now, Jonathan?
I live in Nashville. Yeah.
But you're not from Nashville originally, right?
No, but I've been here 10 years.
10 years. You're in double digits.
I'm starting to claim it, like.
Yeah.
Well, because I'll visit. So I'm originally from a town called Lexington, South Carolina. And I'll go to a supermarket here and run into more people than I do at a supermarket in Lexington when I visit.
Right.
Like people I know. There's probably the same amount of people at the Publix at both places, but
I'd say that's a sufficient sign that you live in said place.
Yeah,
and you're rooted.
Yeah, it's cool. You get a community wherever you are. So, how about you? Where are you?
I'm currently in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, but I just moved here from Los Angeles. I was in Los Angeles for 12 years, so I know the feeling because I grew up here in Lancaster. From when I was born to 18, and then I skedaddled the fuck out of here. Yeah. But it was, but it's weird. I felt like the 12 years in LA, that represents more of who I am than the 18 years that I was here before. But enough about me. Who cares about
there's formative years, right? Like there's years where you're growing and it's more like you're honing a craft. Like, so for me, like, I was playing guitar in my bedroom, not really meeting a lot of people.
Right.
And like my dad would take me out to blues jams, and then I grew up playing in churches and stuff like that. So you're meeting people, but then you're in Nashville and you're like home basing and going on tours and playing honky tonks where you see thousands of people a week. It's just different.
Well, it's professional. Whereas I imagine, as it was for me in Pennsylvania and you in South Carolina, it's just amateur. Makes it sound like it's like a dirty word, but I don't mean that.
Touring in your buddy's mom's Suburban is amateur?
No. I don't mean that. I mean, I was gonna say I did that last month or last year.
I'm not too proud for it.
Yeah. But did you grow up in a musical family?
Yeah, my mom's a killer piano player and a great singer. And so if my sisters and both my sisters have like naturally just incredible voices. They weren't dumb enough to go into music for a profession, but they or crazy. I don't think it's dumb. I just think it's, you're rolling the dice with your livelihood.
Yeah.
But there are ways to mitigate risk or whatever. But notwithstanding that, so my mom would like, if we sang like jokingly, you know how kids will do, and they'll like tear their voice up. My mom would like pop us and be like, "Respect your instrument." So I definitely grew up um, in a a family conducive to getting good at an instrument. And my dad was just the biggest music fan in the world, so he'd like steal me away and be like, "And this is the Allman Brothers band, you know, like these are 8-minute guitar solos. You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
Please love it."
Well,
Like,
that's great. I mean, it's one thing to be in a musical family, but it's another thing to kind of be gifted the idea of longevity into that. Not necessarily the business per se, but into having that as part of your craft as a human moving forward, right?
yeah, it was really cool because my mom loves classical music and a lot of pop music too. Like but she's more the piano singer songwriter, like that kind of vein. And then my dad's a bit of more like jam band rocker. And so like, to have those two intercede, like I definitely, my mom loved Queen, so that's kind of where she met with the guitar solos. It's like, and Brian May as a guitar player, I'm not sure if you're hip to Queen, or do you play an instrument?
I do. I sing and play guitar, and I
Okay,
love
so
Queen.
like Queen,
Yeah.
Brian May there's not a single guitar note out of place. So it may be a 6-minute solo, but every note is perfect.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of like my mom's gateway into guitar solos, was like Brian May's excellence in Queen. So thank you, Brian, for making her not skip through the solos of my songs.
It might have been his hair too.
Mm,
He had good hair.
Can't fight the perm, man.
You can't fight the perm, man. You can't fight the perm. Well, you've been, 2020 has been a strange year for a number of reasons, but you've been on quite a tear in terms of releasing new music. You've released an EP, and then a single, an EP, and then a couple of, I guess, 2-song singles. Most recently, you released "Why" and "Wanna Know."
Yeah.
And something I want to ask you that by default, I've been asking a lot of the guests that we've had on HelloooTV
Okay.
and subsequently Hello Hangs. There is no wrong answer to this, but I'm just kind of
But I'll
curious.
judge you if you sing it. Yeah.
No, it's really, I'm curious of your mindset, because it's so interesting. It's like, no matter who your team is, nobody has the answer. There's multiple right answers here. But
Right.
I'm curious what your proclivity is in terms of releasing music,
Proclivity.
pandemic notwithstanding. Oops. Sorry, Audio-Technica. I didn't mean to scratch your beautiful microphone. Do you prefer EPs or singles, or these 2-song singles that you've been doing, and why?
That's a great question, actually.
Well, that's why they pay me the big bucks here.
That's right, baby. You got to
HelloooTV.
own it. Like job security. Streaming's an interesting market, right? So because we're in a streaming scenario, you have to focus on the medium and the way it's distributed, right? So, and then I'm also, so there's a staging guy named Tom Jackson, and he teaches teaches artists, like the artists he's worked with are bananas. It's like Taylor Swift, Shawn Mendes. Like when they're young and a label signs them, they'll call Tom. He charges a lot, but it's worth every penny. And he'll teach them how to move and how to handle an audience. And I had one gig where it was like a really deep-pocketed situation where the girl was young and they brought him in. And it was the best because I got paid for these rehearsals, and I got this dude who's like way more money than I could ever afford, but he would coach me because I was a lead guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
And any artist, you have to pass off to someone else in the band. Mick Jagger is incredible, but he still passes it off to Keith Richards. So I got this one-on-one interaction with Tom, and I learned a lot from that. And one of the things he kept telling the artists that I was playing for was, you're not married to your artist, you're dating your audience. Like, you're dating the audience. So,
Okay.
like, you're not married to them. They're not married to you. You're speed dating. When you're opening, like, you have an opportunity to win them over. And I feel like streaming, when you release a single, it's kind of like that. Like, maybe 100 people are married to me enough to listen to a whole 12-track album. Like, and I love albums. Like, I grew up, like, my dad's super into AOR's album-oriented rock, and like, I love that. And that's really cool. At this phase of my career, it's not the most conducive to gaining an audience. And that's what I was trying to do. So with we chose to do double singles, like kind of like a 45 where you could tuck in.
Right.
Because I love B-sides. And
But do you I understand the concept. I'm a vinyl guy, so I
yeah,
get that. But do
yeah.
you consider these songs that are the B-sides, even though because it's a digital format, do you actually consider them B-sides in the traditional sense in that they're not your A game? Because
No,
I don't think they are. I think they're great songs.
thanks. I did it more as when you're just getting to know an artist and you're just kind of listening to music for the first time. If I released a song, like I have a song called Unglued, and it's a friend of mine playing piano and me singing. If I release that as a single, straight up, and I haven't released enough music already, you're like, wait, why is this labeled rock? Why does this guy think he's a rock artist? This sounds like Elton John. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it because it frees you up to do things. Now at this point I've released 9 songs. So I may switch over to singles to be able to hit, there's all these there's analytics and there's algorithms that you have to hit to get on like the algorithmic playlist on things like Spotify. And nerding out into that's been really fun because it has to be a part of the release strategy when you're independent because you don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to just like ram this down the throat of the consumer. So, and I don't resent that at all. Like work harder or work smarter, so trying to do that. At this point, I feel like Why and Wanna Know, those two that I just released are like the perfect Venn diagram, like 2 circles of Venn diagram of the music I want to make. Right? Because I've toured as a professional guitar player.
Yeah, I wanna ask you about that, but you're saying that the idea of this 2-song digital single, so to speak, is a good way to give people the breadth of what you do as an artist and as a musician, whereas with just 1 song, you might get prejudged, pigeonholed.
Potentially.
Yeah, right.
And then you can it's almost like pairing wine with a meal in that you can say, I know this may have come off really harsh, like a rock and roller, a little bit like AC/DC, like Wanna Know, we were going straight for that, like that. The Back in Black, get the guitar riff, like it's like a it's like Don't Block the Snare, classic rock.
It's air drums galore in the Berman house over here.
And my buddy Connor Dennis, who's on the thing tomorrow night, tracked the drums for it.
Okay.
He's just a total animal. And that's actually our closing song. You guys, there's a big old payoff in that one.
Nice. I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah, but then, if you listen to that and you're like, whoa, like that song took me there. And then it goes into like a song like Why, which is
very subdued, yeah, very mellow,
but kind of like a Stormy Monday kind of Allman Brothers vibe and you get to ride this full gamut of emotions. I just thought it was a really cool journey for people, and I have the luxury of I write a lot of music. It just very second nature. I just write music all the time. I produce my own music. So it's not like I have to wait on people to do it. Like if I want it done, I can get it done. I just like caffeinate and make it happen and stay up all night. And then one of my dear friends, Alberto, he's an incredible mix engineer and takes time out of his schedule to mix my stuff.
Oh, nice.
And, he's Padawan me a lot. Like he's like my Yoda. And he's taught me a lot about mixing, and he'll be like, oh, kid, you almost got the drums there. You need to work on your gain staging a little bit, but you're getting there, and he'll like, so it's just been a blast. And so I have the luxury of being able to put out tons of music. So I care that people can sometimes ignore the B-sides, but it's also like at the end of the day, when all of this hits, whenever it hits, people are going to go back and be like, wow, that song's really dope.
Yeah, and it's as if people want to dig deeper than they can, it's there.
Yeah, but if you don't have enough for them to dig deeper, then they're into you, and then they're like, oh, this is as deep as it goes, and then they're out.
Right.
So many options that it's kind of like, funny enough, there's a hip hop artist named Russ, right? And he was totally independent and making like 6 figures a month in streaming revenue because he was just releasing a song a week.
Yeah.
Consistently. And he did some interviews, and he's pretty cocky because he's like in hip hop and that's the vibe. Like it's
Yeah.
totally it's
You
you
gotta
know
sell it, I suppose.
it's encouraged to be super cocky. So he's like, yeah, man. I mean, if you're releasing all the time and people aren't digging it, then your music probably sucks. And but it's cool to think like, okay, if in streaming it's just a talent competition, it's um it's not just trust fund kids can win, then I even have a shot, because like my family's not broke, but we're middle class. Like I'm not buying my way onto a tour, and I'm not like, like it's just not. There are certain things that I've played for artists that have done that I'll never do, but that doesn't mean I can't make it. It just means
Right.
music has to be that much better, and it means
Sure.
it honestly it encourages better art. So
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that dynamic of being independent artist, but also a hired gun. Before we go any further, for those that are watching, my name is Jeff Berman. I'm with HelloooTV. This is Hello Hangs, the Thursday night interview segment that we do with the artists that we will be spotlighting and premiering a concert for tomorrow night on HelloooTV. You can find concerts every week at youtube.com/HelloooTV. That's hello with 3 O's if you're in Germany, 3 O's if you're in
oh yeah,
the rest of the world. And I'm here with Jonathan Wyndham. If you have a question for Jonathan Wyndham, please ask it. I'll see it in the chat and we'll get to it. Until then, Jonathan, I wanted to ask you, how have you balanced the dynamic of doing your own music and doing your own thing coupled with being the guitarist for other people?
honestly, I think they've really balanced each other out, and I think it's a bit of ebb and flow where because I have my own artistic thing, right, and I have my own outlet, and I have buddies I can play with where if I want to take an 8-minute solo, as long as it's good, no one's gonna say anything.
Yeah,
The boys might be like, "Hey, man, that was a little excessive," if it wasn't good, but frankly, if I bore myself, I'm gonna stop. Like I'm,
right.
I'm also like the listener at the same time as I play. So
You've got tact. Yeah,
if I'm
you get it.
unimpressed, I'm gonna be like,
Yeah,
let's just wrap this up, or let one of the other boys take it because I'm not bringing the heat right now. But I like to warm up extensively before shows, so all the bad ideas get out. But notwithstanding that, the playing for other people is really it's kind of it's like playing and I don't mean to belittle it, but it's kind of like playing pickup basketball if you're an NBA player because there's not that much on the line. And I don't mean to say like it's not important because it is, and I've played on a lot of big
sure.
stages, and it's really, but it feels more like an all-star game because you don't actually have to pull that much weight because
I
you're just
got
a
you.
guitar player. Like when I
Yeah,
play myself, I have to do lead guitar work and I have to do frontman, and so like you don't get to just sit back and groove. If I'm playing guitar for like Jessie James Decker, I tour with her on guitar. It's dope because she comes out in like leopard print spandex and is like larger than life with her hair teased up and like she's doing her thing. I don't have to do my like I have to match that level of intensity, but it's honestly it's harder for me to play behind people that aren't bringing their A game because then I have to pull back the entire set.
right.
And then it's like, oh, don't move with it too much because you're going to draw too much attention, and don't like make sure you don't step up too far for your solo or else you're going to get fussed at by the management for upstaging.
Right. I mean, you mentioned something earlier where you were saying, you got to work with this guru guy, for lack of a
Yeah.
better term, that you would not have been able to afford for your Jonathan Wyndham records. But I
No.
mean, have you been able to take, the process of making it important for something else that's not your baby, but then making that applicable to the music that you do? Was that something that you kind of picked up on right away? Was there a learning curve to it?
I think it happens the entire time. And
Mm,
I for the longest time did not want to be the artist. I kind of ran from that because I was afraid it would consume me. Um if there I don't resent anything about playing music, But if there's one thing I could change, it would be that you had to be famous to be very successful. I find that kind of annoying because I don't want people to be weird if they see me in Kroger and they're like, "Hey, I really like your music." I want to be like, "Dope, thanks. Thanks for listening. What's your favorite song?"
Yeah.
Without it being weird, because I put music out. If you dig it, I want to hear it. Like that's flattering to me because it's something I love. It's like being like, "Hey, your dog's cute." Like, thanks. But the whole time you're playing for other people, if you have your wits about you and you're kind of, or at least I was like, I think I would arrange the set this way. But one of my favorite things to remind myself is unsolicited advice always falls on deaf ears. So like if people don't ask me for my opinion, I'm not going to give it.
Right.
If people don't want to hear it, especially in music. And I don't take it personally. It's just like there's probably 7 cooks in the kitchen before I get there. And unless they ask me what I think, they don't want to know. So a lot of times I'll sit back and then I'll think, and we can be playing a song at this point, and I'm thinking, why wouldn't I put this song here? Well, I guess the crowd was ready for this. And so the whole time I'm kind of like watching game film while I'm playing these songs, because the secret to playing live is actually practicing so much you can't mess up. So
it becomes muscle memory and brain function, utility at that point, so that you can concentrate and do what you need to do, whether that be entertaining, daydreaming, or booking.
Yeah.
Where you're like you're thinking of your next step. We call it booking the territory. It's an old wrestling term, where it's you're just constantly thinking about everything else that it's like in the moment. It's not like you're thinking about, I got to get my fucking car washed or whatever. No, you're thinking about like, all right, this was the 3rd song in the set tonight. I really think it would do well if it was the second to last, if it was the penultimate song or whatever. You're always kind of thinking about how to improve. I think that's natural with people like yourself who are longevity focused.
Well, I wasn't a savant, right? I was good, better than average, but not like a freak of nature 12-year-old who could just shred. So if you can't be a savant, go for most improved. In my opinion, like be Tom Brady, who got drafted so low the draft doesn't even go that low, but now has the stats that a lot of people are like, he's the best ever.
He's the GOAT.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just because he just outworked everyone else.
Yeah.
And never shied away from game film. So that's kind of more my mentality. There's a lot to learn if your eyes are open. If you're like drinking the whole time you're touring and like you're barely pulling yourself through and nursing a hangover every day, you're not going to learn anything. But if you're just like taking it and doing your thing and helping the roadies load in and listening to what they have to say, like I've learned a lot from what roadies say of what never to do as an artist. And frankly, like everyone should play behind other people.
Yeah, and you can really get a sense when you start a tour. You can get a sense within the first day of, first timers or green or rookies or whatever you want to use. It's like, oh, this is your first day. This is your first time. You can get a sense of who is just absent-minded and who just doesn't have the tact to understand it. And that's okay if you are able to kind of get through to them and say, actually, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
But it's the people who, I'm sure we've all toured with people who refuse to learn, and
pride is a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
Pride gets you fired.
Yeah. But that's really interesting. I like your outlook on this. I find this really refreshing because you seem to have struck a good balance between you're on the roller coaster for the superstardom for the people that you play with, but you're using those lessons and applying it to what you do. Something I kind of wanted to talk about that kind of encompasses everything that we've talked about so far tonight. And that is, you had this moments, on television, on national television, on The Voice.
Yeah.
Which I'm always so intrigued by on a personal level, as somebody who grew up in the punk rock and hardcore scene. Yeah. That world is just the antithesis. It's so anachronistic to everything that I ever knew or expected that, I'm so intrigued by it. So I am curious of what was just your basic experience? Like, what the fuck was that like? What must that have been like for you?
There's so I'll just start at the beginning. So I was studying music business and songwriting at MTSU because I moved to Nashville to write songs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized everyone wasn't like Joe Bonamassa. And I was like, oh, I can make some side money playing guitar.
Right.
But I wanted to be a staff songwriter. And one of my professors told this producer who came and spoke at our artist management class. My professor was Miss Green. And this dude came and he was a producer. He produced like Whitney Houston and some crazy stuff. And he came and spoke at our class. And Professor Green was like, you should hear Johnson's music. It's really dope. And he was like, yeah, sure, kid. But I emailed it to him immediately. And then he had me come to his studio. And he was like, you sing really well. Like, you should go on The Voice. And he had me sing in front of him just to see what I sounded like. And I was like, yeah, sure, everyone says that. He's like, no, I know a guy. And so before I realized it, I was at callbacks.
Damn.
And then I meet all these cool people. Like one of my dearest friends still, her name's Kensington Moore. Insane pop artist. Incredible. Just a dope human being. Killer vocals. Sounds like Tori Kelly. She's great. And she like waited 10 hours for the whole cattle call thing. And I felt like such a chump to be like,
I skipped like, that whole thing. I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah. And like, I mean, I waited maybe 15 minutes. I felt like such a jerk. Because I had like the industry invite. So I knew exactly when my callback was. And
right.
Whatever. So I do it. I sing well. Interview fine. Like, and then made it out there. And so you go on there and, you know, you're all at a hotel, right? Like you're just around each other and it's like kind of like Glee where everyone, like there's a bunch of kids under 18, so their parents are around. And I'm like, I kind of like hanging out with their parents more than I like hanging out with them. Like get their heads on right. And there's kids like in every stairwell where there's.
How old were you at that time?
Like 22.
Okay.
Yeah, 22. But the kids in stairwells like singing runs like made from love, like just in everywhere there's reverb.
Sure.
And it was just the wildest thing. And the whole time, like I knew the production crew made more money than us. You know what I mean? Like I knew the hierarchy. But I remember rolling up to the studio because like it was on like a film lot, right? So we roll up in a minivan, and one of this dude named Grant, he was a younger, like 16 at the time. Now he's blossomed into this really cool neo soul artist. But at the time he was really young. He was like, man, I can't believe they're all here for us. And I was like, Grant, how much do they pay these judges? He's like, I don't know. I was like, a couple mil a season.
Yeah.
How much do they pay the production assistants, the PAs? He's like, I don't know. I was like, they live in LA, so it can't be less than $300 a day.
Yeah.
Like, how much do we make a week? He's like, not $300 a day. And I was like, correct. We're dead last, bro. And it was just having that outlook. It wasn't jaded, but it was just like.
It's realism.
Yeah, like you can't let this be your journey. It has to be a piece of your journey.
Sure.
But I do remember, and I've never told anyone this outside of my family. So here you go. Here's your Hello Hangs.
Bring it. Yeah.
At the time, while I was out there for the blind auditions, Tom Petty did an interview in Rolling Stone. And he was basically like, I hate all these kids trying to cheat and not just get in a van like the rest of us. Like, they need to be real. And I remember calling my dad, and I'm not much of a crier, calling him in tears and be like, Dad, I want to go home. Like, if my idols aren't going to respect me, why am I here? And so, honestly, that kind of made the whole thing bittersweet, but at the same time, I didn't look back when I left. You know, because it was like,
yeah,
Tom Petty will respect me more this way. So cool. And so it was kind of, you know, that was a blessing to see that. And
yeah, I mean, you know, in my personal experience, when I've come across people who have been involved in these shows, when I've, you know, our tours have crossed paths with them sometimes, you kind of get the feeling it's like you're dealing with a kid that peaked in high school. And you're like you know the type. You know, but I don't want to be judgmental.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't want to be judgmental of that. And my bandmates, you know, we want to be kind, but like you know the type when you're around it. Like this is a
And
people business. Like
it's a
you can
bummer,
yeah,
honestly, 'cause
it
it's
just
like,
sucks.
yeah, it was peaked too soon, and then it can become. I think the curse of those shows is like when Idol started, right? They had a year before the next American Idol started. Like they had at least 8 months
Hmm.
for them to make something of themselves, to get the right song. Because when, like, let's be real, if you're on a show like that, you probably haven't learned how to write songs really well yet. And songs are everything. Like Bob Dylan, not the world's best singer, one of the best songwriters ever. Like, and that's carried him the whole way. Like, you can't fake a bad song. Bad songs get made fun of by any amazing singer. People are like, really? That's the lyric? Like, songs are hard, and there's a
Mm.
craft and an art to it. And when you win a show like that, you're at the mercy of whatever songwriter believes in you. And when American Idol was fresh, songwriters believed in it, so they pitched these incredible songs like Jesus Take the Wheel for Carrie Underwood. And, like the songs Kelly Clarkson got. Was it Since You've Been Gone? Was that on the first thing, or was that after she started working with Dr. Luke?
No, that was later.
Okay.
Why I know that?
That's
Don't tell my
impressive.
bandmates.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was she had already kind of blossomed out from her. That was the first time that she was really out from the shadow of her American Idol
Yeah. But her, like,
world.
even her first singles were really strong. And then
Yeah.
you get people that win these, and now you fast forward, and it's The Voice, and they have 2 seasons running at the same time, which is awesome and great for them. And at least I haven't really checked on their ratings, but their ratings never dipped. And I was on season 7, so that was like many moons ago,
Yeah.
And so,
But it's a commodity at that point. It's not meant to be this kind of
well, it's more about, I don't know how to, I'm not
well,
trying to,
it's not the cultural juggernaut that it is, so therefore it's not garnering the
right. And I have
respect and
buddies,
attention of songwriters. Is that what you're
yeah.
saying?
Well, and I have buddies that date a lot of girls and they're not trying to settle down. And that's kind of what it can turn into, is like people are just enjoying getting to know people without having to dive too deep.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it became with music, which is cool because then you go your own way. You work your tail off for 5 years, maybe 10, and then you can make something of yourself, which honestly is probably healthier. So maybe it's a great thing how it works. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's me just being a shameless optimist. But
No, but that's something. I mean, you were a fresh-faced you weren't a kid, you were a young adult at that point. You're still a young adult, but you were a younger adult at that point. And now, and you were singing, like Bruno Mars and some other things, and
yeah,
that's all well and good, but like how far are you from that 22-year-old now?
well, 6 years.
I know that.
No,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like,
yeah. No, but I mean, like in your mind, like how far removed are you from that version of yourself, if at all?
like, when like you have a fresh cut and then years later it's scarred over, and then 6 years later you don't even see the scar, it's just white.
Hmm.
And you've gotten so many more cuts along the way, and you don't even remember it. So it's hard for me to put a finger on who I was back then, but I am very thankful I didn't go any farther, because I took it as, and I came back, and I remember I had a mentor at the time who was like, you need to release music. And I knew that I didn't have the songs for it. Like, I knew enough about songwriting to know I could not do it then. Like, because even if you can piece together 8 songs, like, and you can piece together an album, you can't do 8 songs a year is not going to carry you.
Hmm.
Because if you have to take an off year every time, like, then you have to trust outside songs. And I didn't want to be that. So I wanted to grow as a songwriter. And so I tried to get a publishing deal, which a publishing deal is where, for all intents and purposes, a publishing company advances you money. So they loan you money, and they call it a draw. So they'll loan you, like, let's say it's 36 over 12. So they give you $3,000 a month, 36 grand over 12 months to write songs for them. And they own half of those songs. Like, they own half of the copyright.
Hmm.
And then once you've made back that 36 grand, then you start making royalties. And that's a very simplified version of it. It's much deeper than that. But
right.
Just you bet against yourself, and then you write songs. And everyone I talked to about it, it was just like, and one of my best friends is a publisher, and Chandler's incredible. He's a stud. But I didn't really want to write country. I definitely didn't want to aim for the radio, like where country radio was. Just not my bag. I like 70s rock and soul. Like that's not where country radio is a different place. And I don't take that personally. But it wasn't what I wanted to do.
Sure.
And I didn't want them setting my calendars. Even if it was one of my best friends, I didn't want him setting my calendar trying to get me to write one of these songs I didn't want to listen to.
Right.
And I realized I could make similar money playing in honky tonks and on the road. And so I just started farming myself out as a guitar player. Like just kind of, actually I sang background. I was walking my dog, and he was really adorable. And when he was a puppy, he's still cute now, but when he was a puppy, he was exceptionally adorable. And I met a producer when I was walking my
on
dog.
The walk?
Yeah, it was because I used to live right off Music Row.
Sure.
And when gigs were short, my parents helped me with the rent. Thank you guys so much. But the proximity got me my first country touring gig, because the dude had like a performing rights organization lanyard. I think it was CSAC or something.
Yeah.
It was a person. There's companies that they collect your royalties and they take a nominal fee. And they're really good at it because they have the biggest businesses. They have the biggest buildings on Music Row. So obviously they're quite good at what they do, at the volume of that. So his name was Bill. And he met me, and then he Googled me and found out I'd been on The Voice and was like, I want to hire you to sing harmonies. Can you hear harmonies? I was like, yeah, dude. Because my mom's like a harmony like sniper. So she taught us to
great.
Always sing harmony in the car kind of thing. And like, so she made me a machine just by that, and then always had us in choruses. And I would always pick tenor. Not that I have that high voice. I would just sing in falsetto the whole time, but I enjoyed the high harmony, which has really helped in session singing because I can just snipe it.
Sure.
It's really useful. So thanks, Mom. And Gary Calloway, choral teacher. Appreciate you, dude. The one teacher in my high school who was like, he'd been to Nashville and he'd played as a trumpet player. And he was like, look, you're not good enough right now to make it, but you have the raw potential to make it, and you have a great work ethic. So if you really set your mind to it, you can do it. And I mean that. And he was not one to give out idle compliments. So I really, I clung to that in a lot of weird moments when I was like, why am I doing this? So thanks to him. But he had me sing harmonies on this country artist who was signed to Big Machine, which is a company. Sure. They had Taylor Swift and a lot of country stuff. And he found out I played guitar. And he was like, oh, would you go on the road and sing harmonies and play guitar? And I was like, sure. And because I toured with some Christian bands and stuff like that, like I'd been traveling around and doing it. I was familiar. And quite frankly, I was familiar with making in a week what we were making per show in country,
Mm-hmm.
And driving the box truck full of our merch.
Yeah.
And rushing off stage to sell merch. So I got on my first country tour. I was like, oh, this is dope. And that ended up being great. And that kind of got me in. And then once you're traveling with one person, it's funny. I can't remember who said it, but they were always like, it's a lot easier to get a girlfriend when you already have one. And I don't know if that's the world's best advice. And I really don't remember where that came from, but it's like that with gigs. If you have a gig, you can always line up another gig,
especially in the music industry. And even if you're not on stage, I mean, it's the same for everybody at HelloooTV.
Oh,
that's really the nest of how and why we exist, is that we're networked together through this sprawling web of connectivity, whether we're publicists or performers or front of house or videographers. You know, if you go on tour and you're cool and you have tact and you have some semblance of social skills that allow you to maintain a form of connectivity.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, really, but that's what it is. It's like when I think about the people, I met my wife at one of my shows. I mean, she was a groupie. That's a different story. But, my best friends and the people that I work with at Hellooo, they're people who I met through touring.
Yeah.
Because that's like now with COVID, it's like I'm trying to like re-enter more of a traditional workforce,
Mhm.
and I'm reconnecting with these people from high school, and I'm like, "You're the VP of Citibank? Like,
Dope, yeah.
that's cool." But
Yeah.
like, I know I've had more fun than you in the last 20 years. Like, I'm just not even gonna fucking debate it. I know I've had a better ride than
Uh,
you, but you can afford a better plane seat than me. That's kind of how I look at it. But you're right. It's like you get it. You can get your legs wet and you can kind of go with it. And that's it. Kind of brings it back to what we were talking about when we first hopped on here. Was this idea that was instilled in you by your family, which is really, regardless of what your career is going to look like in music, but you have that longevity to carry you through. That's the wave that you ride.
yeah, there's a legacy thing. I never wanted to get 40 years down the road and have written a song that I loved that made a bunch of money, and nephews can be sassy or something, like some sassy young member of my family, like, what song did you write, pay for this beach house, and then you have to like tell them this song you hate. Like, I just didn't want that.
Hmm.
Like, and there's a legacy thing. My favorite guitar player is Dwayne Allman, who's in the Allman Brothers. He was also in Derek and the Dominoes with Clapton, and he was more focused, and he also played on a bunch of Aretha Franklin stuff, some Boz Scaggs stuff. Loan Me a Dime's one of the dopest guitar solos he ever did, and it's on like a Boz Scaggs
He
record.
did some stuff at Muscle Shoals, right? Wasn't
Yeah,
that
he
in
was
that
a session player.
documentary?
He camped out in the lawn until they gave him a job. Like, he was, he's
Yeah.
the dude, and he he was very disenchanted with art and commerce ever coinciding correctly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he told Barry Oakley, the bass player of the Allman Brothers band, that enjoy it now because the money will come and the fun will stop. And I think that's the wrong way to look at it. But I do think that it is really weird for art and commerce to coincide well, right? Like, whenever you start talking about money, things get weird. Unfortunately, that means that it makes it quite easy for people to get taken advantage of.
Mhm.
And you're already so emotionally invested in the gig, it doesn't matter that you're making $600 a week less than you would like to be,
Yeah.
and then you can't afford the nice plane ticket that your friend who hates his job can. But um but we do something everyone wants to do, and so it wouldn't make sense for that to pay the most. You pay people a lot because they don't want to do it, and we get to do something that, in the proper company, can be really extraordinary.
Well, you just inflated well, it's not that you inflated my ego, Jonathan. It's that you made me feel better about, how I felt about myself when I was scrolling through my goddamn LinkedIn profile this morning, so
Hey,
thank
you
you for that.
think about your LinkedIn though. Like, I'm a huge advocate of LinkedIn. I think it's dope.
I ignored it for so long, and now I'm catching up to it. It's like stalking professional style,
Yeah, and
as opposed to, the wild, wild west of Zuckerberg's Facebook and the Twitter land and everything else. It's like a higher caliber.
people don't post
Yeah.
things willy-nilly. So, like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
find myself reading a higher percentage of articles all the way through on LinkedIn. And I've always kind of been an old soul like that, but like,
Well, you
I
know what that means then?
I don't.
It means you're due for a goddamn record. 2021, you're due for a proper
Well,
full length.
we're going to, like,
Okay.
that's
You
the
got to put it on wax.
that's the skinny. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be all of that. We're making as much of a splash as we can from the songs as singles, to where we have X number. I remember I had a beer with a friend of mine who's an agent, and my wife was with us, and my wife is very brass tacks. She sells wine. She's a baller. Like, in her early to mid 20s, was running an entire distributor in Nashville, the entire wine and spirits division of this distributor. She's an incredible businesswoman. And she was just like, okay, brass tacks, like, what do you need to book Jonathan as a solo artist? And it was just, and then our friend, the agent, was like, he needs to have one social media that's just bumping, like, great numbers. He needs to have X number of monthly listeners on a streaming platform. Just pick one to focus on. and then live video footage. And so what's actually funny is when HelloooTV called me to do this thing, I was like, hey, that was the third piece,
the missing link,
the third piece that that we needed to do the thing. So it's been really cool. A lot of my life has felt like divine intervention, but this especially has just felt like, oh, okay, like party on. 2020 might be the best year of my life.
Fair enough. I mean, if HelloooTV can provide that in some sort of way of, as if, we're not a deity, but hey man, we'll take the credit for being one.
When it's the right job, I don't mind being a tool. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. This has been great to get to know you, and I'm really inspired by your outlook and your kind of rationale for the manner in which you've released music this year, and the outlook that you have. You can tell that you're still a young man, but you're an old soul, and you use your experience wisely. And I think a lot of people can learn from that. So thank you for coming on Hello Hangs.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, I hope it's, I hope that we can, like with rock and roll, right? We're, in my opinion, carrying the torch forward for the people that are our influences. Like if I love the Allman Brothers, Tom Petty, the Eagles, like Joe Walsh's solo stuff, Jeff Beck's solo stuff, all that, if I'm carrying that torch, if I presume to carry that torch, if I want to say I'm a rock and roller, like they've set the bar so high that I can't just regurgitate things that they do, but I need to know what they've done, and I need to know those songs to inform where I'm taking it.
Right.
And it's just been, I'm very thankful for all the years of playing bars and cover sets, and because it's really given me the chops that I needed to have the depth to even start that journey. And I'm not there. I want to be like, so do you listen to a lot of Jeff Beck?
A lot of Jeff Beck? No.
Or just any?
Yeah. I like Beck. I wouldn't say I love Beck, but
so
I like Jeff Beck.
He put out a record in 2010 called Emotion and Commotion, and it's just like one of the dopest things ever. It's like half of them are him playing with a symphony, and then half of it's just like melt your face. And then in 2016 he did a record called Loud Hailer, and dude, some of the stuff he's doing is like the most tasteful stuff of his entire career, and he's in his 70s at that point. So it's like, if
all about longevity.
Yeah, dude, if my heroes are growing into their 70s, like I just need to buckle up and enjoy the run. Like I'm only 28. That's like 42 more years at least of just fun.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so it's
exactly.
I think the best part of being a solo act is I get to only tour with my friends. There's no scrubs.
Yeah, and you can kind of have that be the yang to the yin of what you're doing when you're on the road with other people, or what you're doing supplementally with the writing that you could be doing for other people while you're at home.
And I still write for other people. I'm just garbage at pop country because my heart's not in it.
Right. Well, most of pop country is garbage. Let's call it what it is. Not all. I don't want everyone to get upset out there in Hello Land.
I don't sing it in the shower, and that's my barometer, Like, I can get down on some of it. I can play guitar on some of it, but it's just not my personal vibe, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an acquired taste.
Well, I should let you go, and I should hop off here before the creators and directors of HelloooTV yank me off the air for saying such disparaging thing about.
Oh, you're fine, dude.
No, they don't care.
If you didn't have any taste, you wouldn't have any conviction. That's the thing. Like everyone in town, there's this like, everyone thinks when they first moved to Nashville that you can't say anything's not your thing, and you have to like be like, yeah, I love that. But if you say that so many times, no one ever believes you when you actually love it.
It was the same thing in Los Angeles, though, man. It was like, it's the same thing, that superficial, cosmetic, skin deep appreciation of things.
There's a certain level of what I think is rock and roll where you're like, no, dude, that's not me. This is me, but that's not me.
Right. More power to you.
Yeah, party
but I'm
on.
gonna step
But
over
it's not
here.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the rock and roll attitude. It's less about, because like, I mean, I'm not straight edge. I'll drink a beer or something, like whatever, but I don't think rock and roll is the amount of consumption you have in your system. I think it's just the attitude of like, I'm just gonna do me, and if you dig it, cool, and if you don't, do your thing. Like, there's other people for that. Especially with the internet, like no one's let down. Just find a different playlist, man.
Yeah, exactly. There's no shortage
Yeah,
of
it blows my
yeah.
mind when people like troll people on the internet. I'm like, man, you could spend a quarter of the energy and find something you love.
Yeah, it's like, you don't need to listen to this if you don't like it. It's okay not to listen to it.
But like, it's so much, they could find something they love with that
Yeah.
energy. But you know, some people just like, what's that Alfred quote in like Dark Knight Rise, or the one with Heath Ledger where he's like, some people just want to watch the world burn.
They just wanna watch the world
Yeah,
burn.
yeah. So I mean, it happens.
Yeah, yeah. And
That's not us though, you know.
that's not us.
Yeah, and I love that.
I think that is some people that
What's
are
your position on tour when touring comes back on? Like guitar?
personally.
Yeah. Do you tour as a guitar player? Or?
Yeah. I tour solo and I tour with a band, and then occasionally I do hired gun stuff.
Oh, fun.
I can't answer that question because I honestly don't know. There are days where I'm ready to get back out and do it. There are days where my realism takes a strong streak of pessimism, and I don't think we're ever going back the way that it was. And if it doesn't go back to some semblance of the way that it was, I don't think that I can do it at the level that I was doing it
Uh-huh.
and make enough money for it to be beneficial as somebody who's, 38 going on 39, facing down 40. It is what it is. I've had a great run, but I shouldn't say it is what it is, because that sets a bad precedent, because some other asshole likes to say that and to not take responsibility. I take responsibility for what I've done in the music industry, but I don't know what the future holds. So I'm hesitant to make a declarative statement one way or the other.
Oh, I think it's gonna be like 69, dude. I think it's gonna be like Woodstock. If you look at like how angsty people are right now, and like, in my opinion, my job and my calling
Yeah.
is to make you forget about your bills and your garbage for 60 to 90 to 3 hours. 60 to 90 minutes or 3 hours, however long you give me the stage. I have to make you forget about all the junk. I guess my gig. And I don't think there's a higher calling, because looking around at 2020, it's like, look at what happens when we don't have distractions. Like, all sports are canceled, all concerts are canceled. We're at each other's throats because no one knows how to cut loose, because you just took all of our cut loose away. So if I can help people unwind after this, and I think it's gonna come back real hard. I think festivals are gonna be transcendent.
I
Yeah,
hope
I
so,
think you
man.
just gotta keep your chops up, bro, because I think it's.
Yeah, I mean, until then,
I mean,
we just got to be busy, be
yeah.
writing, be publicizing, be
If you just,
coming up with creative ways to push the music and to push the things that we love.
yeah, we just got to kick the door down when it comes.
Oh, I'm
So,
ready, man. I'm
dude,
I'm already wearing my boots.
I mean, yeah, I'm ready.
I mean, I say that like I have my down days where I'm very pessimistic about it, but push comes to shove, when the time is right, I know I'll be ready for it. So
Well, if it gets low, give me a text. I'll give you a
yeah,
text.
you got it, man. All right. Well, is there anything that you want to plug before we hop off here?
I mean, just the stream tomorrow. Let's rock and roll. Everyone in the band takes at least one solo. It's gonna melt your face.
That's awesome. So my name is Jeff Berman. I'm with HelloooTV. We have live streaming concerts premiering every Friday night at 9, 8 Central. And you can find those concerts primarily at our Facebook and YouTube channels, which are below here, but also across the platforms of our production partners, our sponsoring partners, and the artists that we're featuring. Tomorrow night, we have Jonathan Wyndham and his awesome band. So thank you, Jonathan, for coming on Hello Hangs tonight, and we look forward to the show tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
You got it. All right. On behalf of HelloooTV, Jonathan Wyndham, our sponsors, Audio-Technica, AEH Accounting, and NooWave Flow-State-Coffee, this has been Hello Hangs. We'll see you tomorrow night on HelloooTV. Peace, y'all.
Bye, y'all.